I get asked this question quite a bit on the comments of my YouTube channel, in my mentions on Twitter, as I am walking in Walmart. Somebody sees me, recognizes me, asks me about, OU, whatever. And the question, more often than not, is something that I don't really think about, which is good, right? Because I get so deep into the weeds on a lot of this stuff that what is topical and makes sense for people to want to hear about doesn't always strike me. So when I get asked, hey, RJ, I know we're loaded at wide receiver. I know we basically got 4 or 5 stars as freshmen if you call Austin Stogner. I know CeeDee Lamb is over there. I know Charleston Rambo is over there. I know Michael Jones is over there. Nick Basquin's coming back for another year. Drake Stoops is over there. Nobody's heard from Jalen Crawford, but he's awesome. Dude, why doesn't a guy like Jadon Haselwood or A.D. Miller just move to defensive back where we've been atrocious and we're garbage and we suck? I say, okay, I got to unpack this again. So it's like this. In high school football, I'm telling you, I actually talked to high school coach in Georgia about this. And then I talked to another one in Texas, and then I talked to another one in Oklahoma. And they said the same thing to me, all right? So this is universal. The best players in high school football want the ball in their hands, but they have to play defense. That is the bargain. Because if we don't play defense, we're going to get run, guys. Because other teams are going to do what I'm asking you to do, which is make your best players, you might have 2 or 3 of them at tops, go both ways. Even at a place like Modern Day, the Monarchs are one of the best high school football programs in the country. They had guys that went both ways that just wanted to play offense. Brew McCoy is a wide receiver. But on third down, they lined him up in a 4'9" and said, rush the passer, because he was just that great an athlete. As a matter of fact, he was so good at it that Nick Saban was the only team to legitimately recruit him to play defense and said, come play outside linebacker. Come play the star position of nickel safety, outside linebacker, and rover. To which he said, nah, man, I'm a wide receiver. Wherever I go play football, I'm playing wide receiver at the next level. Because you cannot do what we're asking them to do in high school. You play one position. So you're asking a kiddo like Jadon Haselwood, who came to Oklahoma to be a wide receiver, to do what D.D. Westbrook had done, Ryan Broyles had done, Mark Clayton had done, and say, hey, man, we suck over here, and we know that you were legitimately at one point the number 1 player in the entire country. But you want to come play some safety? We know you played some safety at Georgia. Yeah, because I had to. Otherwise, coach said they weren't going to throw me the ball. It's just incentive. We can't make you go from framing houses to house cleaning without an incentive that is money. And that's not even likely if you've said you don't want to clean houses because wielding this nail gun is way more fun than wielding this toilet brush. It's that simple. If you're trying to force someone to do a job that they don't want to do, the chances are they're going to suck at the job and everybody's going to be upset because they're not going to be all in on it. They're going to know that they didn't want to be here in the first place, and they're going to resent you for the rest of time. We all have bad bosses who asked us to do jobs that we didn't want to do, and then put it in a position of saying, hey, take this one for the team. And there are some people that are just built to do that. And sometimes those people get a little bit further ahead than those who are pig-headed, just say, nope, I don't do that. An example that people would want to point to is, hey, Kelly Bryant, we want you to back up Trevor Lawrence because we think he's the better quarterback, but we really do believe that you can help us as a leader. You can help us get prepared for the teams we're going to have to face. And you're going to be a quarterback on a national championship team. And if something happens to Lawrence, you know you're the first guy up. To which Kelly Bryant said, pass. I'm going to redshirt and going to transfer. On the other hand, you got Jalen Hurts, who saw with his own eyes Tua Tagovailoa was a better quarterback. Came back in that second half against Georgia, won them the national championship. We did the charade of who should be the quarterback. Even Nick Saban played them both. Ends up Jalen Hurts is backing up Tua Tagovailoa, and he had enough resolve and constitution to see out the season in such a way that Nick Saban, and for that matter, Alabama fans, can't wait to see him do well because of how he handled the situation. He is the exception. He is not the rule. Most people, college football players, especially if they're great, would want to do what they want to do, even if it comes at the expense of the team, because people are selfish.
I always think when you talk about this, one of the most beloved Sooners of all time, one Paul Thompson, who used to do a show here with us. Again, a guy who was a quarterback, a relatively highly recruited quarterback, had his chance, was replaced by Rep Omar, became a wide receiver, but still took reps at quarterback. And then all of a sudden, he I don't want to say tough it out, but he was there. Things came back around. He needed him, and he was ready. Led him to a Big 12 title. And look, I'm not an OU fan, but a lot of OU fans have said that was a very satisfying season. It wasn't a great season.
They were 8-5.
No, the Paul Thompson when Paul Thompson was the starter and they won the Big 12 championship the next year.
You're saying he's okay.
When he became the starter as a senior, that was it wasn't a great. I'm not saying a great. It was a satisfying season, and people love Paul Thompson for that.
Okay, and that's cool, right? Paul is a folk hero, motivational speaker. How many years did he play in the NFL?
1 week.
Okay,
it's a great story.
That's what the kiddos will say, right? The kiddos don't see what life is going to be like when they're 35, 40, 45 years old, right? I was actually thinking about this as I was watching preseason football, because I'm a junkie and I'm a degenerate. I'm going to watch it. I watched the Arena 52 Bowl, man. Like, that's just or 32 Bowl, excuse me. The championship game for Arena football was on Sunday night, and I watched it in between Simone Biles doing her thing, because I'm a degenerate. But I was actually asked my buddy Robert, I was like, why don't we ever talk about Blake Bell as a 5-star bust? Because that's a guy that came to Oklahoma as a 5-star. And what we say when you're a 5-star is we expect you to get drafted in the first round in the NFL. That's why you're rated that highly. And not only did that not happen, he's playing a position that quite literally he didn't play at all when we're talking about preparation for the NFL. Because he played a little wide out in high school at Wichita and then came to Oklahoma to be a quarterback and the belldozer. But he was the belldozer because that's what the team needed. Did it help him become a better pro? Nah. He's trying to make a Kansas City roster right now behind Travis Kelce. Good luck with that. I really want him to succeed. But I do want to keep it 100 when we're talking about the professional future of dudes that, hey, you're not good enough to play this position. Go do another thing and be ready to go if we need you to ready to go. That's why Jalen Hurts is here, is to try to disprove that theory, right? Is try to disprove the hypothesis that, hey, just because you can't play here doesn't mean you can't play in the NFL. Or just because you can't play this position here doesn't mean you can't play it somewhere else and be great. Kelly Bryant's going to get an opportunity to do that too. Same thing with Justin Fields. It's happened before. It'll happen again. But to my point about Jadon Haselwood, A.D. Miller, any guy you think is buried on the depth chart, you got to be 100% that kid wants to do that. And you're more likely to get a corner switching to safety than you are to get a wide receiver switching to safety or corner. Because to them, it's not the leap that it seems to be. It's like asking a guy that played wide receiver to play tight end, a la Mark Andrews, right? You're still catching passes. You're still running routes. You're just blocking a little bit more. Or you're in the deep third a little bit more if you're a safety. I think it is asking a dude to change the way that he thinks about football, though, and thinks about his own personal identity, which is my major point on this. If you're going to ask somebody to play a different position in football, you're going to ask them to change their number in football, you're asking them to change their own identity. You're asking them to be introspective about who they identify as. They identify more with their positions than they do with the game of football. I'm a wide receiver. I'm a quarterback. I'm a center. I'm a guard. These are real things. These are as real as your name. So you got to make sure that you're talking to the right kid that's going to make that leap. And it ain't usually the kid that made his entire name playing one position and not another. You're going to get further with, say, a walk-on.